The ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo is live. Help me publish the first comic book featuring the goddess next door by putting in a pledge today. Yesterday, after I made my video about your James Gunn being rehired by Disney, a couple of hours later I had someone get so upset regarding that video that they decided to retract their pledge to the ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo. Now, I don't care what people feel regarding my opinions regarding James Gunn or my opinions regarding white people, because when it comes down to my opinion, I will stand on my position, because I have always stood on my position over the last decade when I was blogging on Shawn James Black Freelance Writer, where I had to take the slings and arrows from single mothers, black women, and even some of these simp beta males. And as I've stood on my position, I was willing to take those losses because I understood that there were things more important than money overall. And I was willing to lose a sale or two because I understood that principles and values have higher value than other things such as money. Now, when it comes down to my position on your James Gunn and the things that I have said regarding white people in that video, none of those things I believe were racist, or none of them I believe were offensive, because when I look at this whole situation regarding James Gunn, I clearly see the hypocrisy regarding the Disney Corporation, and I see the hypocrisy regarding Hollywood. And that hypocrisy shows when I take a critical look at the people in charge of Disney. One, you're Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, who was a white man. And two, you're Kevin Feige, the CEO who runs Marvel Studios. And it was those two white men who made a conscious decision to compromise the mission of the Disney Corporation in the exact same way that your Kathleen Kennedy, a white woman, a couple of years ago, made the exact same compromise to Lucasfilm over at Disney when she decided to change the narrative of Star Wars and decided to push not only a feminist agenda in the Star Wars brand, but also decided to promote a racist narrative regarding black men in their media, with Finn the Butler from The Force Awakens, a buck-dancing, bojangling, step-and-fetch-it minstrel, and what they did to make your Lando Calrissian a complete sexual deviant. And from what Kathleen Kennedy did over at Lucasfilm, we started to see a slippery slope starting to form at Disney regarding the media image of their products and the presentation of characters in their products. And we start to see that slippery slope starting to slide over right into Marvel Studios, because when I take a critical look at what happened at Lucasfilm, we're starting to see a similar pattern of compromise transpiring over at Marvel Studios, because only a compromised individual would go out of their way to go and hire someone like James Gunn, who went out of his way 10 years ago to make these tweets on Twitter where he made jokes about pedophilia, he made jokes about child rape, and he made jokes about sexual violence. And if a company that is supposed to be about family and family entertainment had a moral position like your Disney Corporation, they would have cut ties with your James Gunn immediately, and they would have kept those ties severed. Unfortunately, because your Disney has become a compromised corporation and all obsessed with profits, they have forgotten the mission of their company, which was supposed to be about promoting family entertainment and, moreover, family values. And as a company that was supposed to be about promoting family values, what your Disney Corporation did when it rehired James Gunn was compromise itself, compromise its values, and compromise its mission in trying to go after the profits on Guardians of the Galaxy 3 instead of trying to guard the core values of the old Walt Disney Corporation. Now, your Walt Disney himself, he is no saint himself because he himself hated Jews, he was a racist, and a white supremacist. And I look at this whole Disney Corporation right now, and they are in a very bad place ethically. And the reason why they're in a bad place ethically is because if you can go out of your way to rehire a James Gunn, then what does that say about your ethics overall? Moreover, what does it say about the people who work at Disney's ethics, who would go out here like your Dave Bautista and the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy and advocate for a man who went out here and made these inappropriately and disgusting sexually deviant jokes on Twitter, trying to make light of things that are horrific to happen to a child? Because when you think about what happens to a child is an innocent person, and for a person to go out here and make light of something that could destroy their lives, because I've seen many people who were molested and people who have been raped, and this changes their life, and it literally is something that scars them for life. And this man is going to sit here and he believes he's going to make jokes about it, and it's going to be perfectly okay. Now, some people will sit there and say that, oh, your James Gunn deserves a pass because it was 10 years ago, but that excuse does not wash with me. And the reason why it does not wash with me is because your James Gunn at the time was 42 years old. Now, I'm 45 years old right now, and I know that if I was 10 years later, I would know right from wrong. And even in my 20s and my 30s, I knew that that type of joke is not some sort of off-color or blue humor, as some white people want to dismiss, and even some of these sell-out minorities want to dismiss. No, that type of humor shows a complete insensitivity towards the suffering of others. And as a comedy writer myself, I know the difference between what is funny and what is completely tasteless to make fun of. And I've written many sorts of jokes in books like All About Nikki the Fabulous First Season, where I have tackled sensitive situations like racism, and in books like Spinsterella, where I made fun of sexual situations. And all of those situations, again, I knew how to make fun of the situation and not fun of the person. So when I listened to James Gunn's tweets on Twitter and I read them, I saw how completely disgusting they were, and that's why I cannot give your James Gunn the exact same pass that the executives like your Kevin Feige and your Bob Iger have given to him. Because if you give your guys like your James Gunn a pass, then you have just given a pass to people like your Harvey Weinstein, like your Woody Allen, like your Stephen Collins, and that's just shows how hypocritical people in Hollywood are. And moreover, it also shows how racist they are, because while these exact same people are sitting there talking about how they want to give your James Gunn a pass to go out here and direct this Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie and overlook his inappropriate comments regarding pedophilia and child rape and child sexual abuse, these exact same white people who run Hollywood, like your Kevin Feige's and your Bob Igers and many others who supported that whole Michael Jackson documentary and the documentary Surviving R. Kelly, these people, they all want to go out here and wage campaigns against black men like your Michael Jackson, like your R. Kelly, and like your Bill Cosby, and they want to make efforts to go out here and mute individuals like your Michael Jackson, like your R. Kelly, and your Bill Cosby. Not only showing us that they are hypocrites, they are also showing us that they participate in a clear double standard. And that's one of the more disturbing things, again, about these racists in Hollywood. They want to sit there and give James Gunn a pass for his inappropriate behavior, and they want to sit there and then say, oh, Michael Jackson, your R. Kelly, and your Bill Cosby, those are black brutes, and as black brutes, we need to punish them. No, if we are clear about the so-called mission of your Me Too movement, then if we are about stopping sexual harassment and sexual assault, we cannot have selective outrage and have it where we want to stop the sexual harassment and sexual assault as related to black men, but then give a pass to white men. And when I came up with the statement regarding white people and why they are deeply troubled is because when you look at this whole situation with James Gunn, it shows how deeply disturbed a lot of people are, because people would rather be able to go out here and watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and watch a Marvel Studios movie rather than go out here and stand on a moral position. They would rather compromise their values and morals all to go see this superhero movie. And that also shows how deeply compromised they are, because if you are willing to overlook your James Gunn's statements about child rape, child sexual abuse, and these jokes just to see a movie, what does that say about your ethics? And that's the critical question I ask all of these white people out here, and even some of these comic fans out here. This is a compromise you are making all because you want to see a superhero movie, and you don't see how your obsession with these superheroes has led to you making a spiritual compromise that will literally destroy your soul, because you are so obsessed with watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3 directed by James Gunn and watching the next MCU movie that you don't see where you're going spiritually, because the compromise you're willing to make in order to go spend $12, $14 at this movie theater to see another installment of a Marvel Studios movie, you don't see what that is costing you. Because if you will go out here and give James Gunn a pass for his sexual deviant jokes, then you have just literally shown how you are completely hypocritical, because you are out here giving this man a complete pass for inappropriate and debaucherous behavior, and you wouldn't stand for that behavior from a black man, but you will sit there and give it a pass from this white man, all because he is making a movie that you like. And again, that's hypocritical, because you people will sit there and you'll say, oh, you want to mute R. Kelly's music, you want to take Michael Jackson's music down, you want to take Bill Cosby's content down, but when it's content you like, you then want to say that, oh, we need to give James Gunn a chance. And again, I go back to the Bible on this, and when I look at James Gunn's situation, I see something that Jesus said, that, you want to look at the mote in the black man's eye, but you don't want to look at the plank in yours. And most people in America, they don't want to look at the plank in their eye as related to this whole Guardians of the Galaxy situation, and they don't want to look at the spiritual compromise they are making when they go out here and advocate for your James Gunn to direct this movie, because they are so into this MCU that they are willing to make a spiritual compromise by letting this man who has made inappropriate jokes about pedophilia and child rape direct a superhero film. And they don't even see how they're not only compromising themselves, but they're also compromising what this Marvel superheroes used to be about and what Marvel superheroes used to stand for. Because Marvel superheroes, they used to stand for the best in people and people doing their best and helping people in the community. And they used to stand for these ideals. And when you go out here and you get a man like James Gunn to direct a movie, and when you willfully and knowingly know what this man has said in the past, you are making a compromise of those heroes and the ideals that they stand for. And that's what I see with what a lot of white people in America are doing, and even some of these black people and Hispanic people and Asian people who go out here and pay money to go see these movies. I see them making this compromise, and in making that compromise, I see them headed down a slippery slope. And that slippery slope is a dangerous place, because as a guy who has seen an entire company fall completely apart due to compromise over 20 years ago, I can tell you the scariest thing about making a compromise like that is you don't even know you've done it. And most American people, when it comes down to this MCU, they are so obsessed with seeing their favorite characters, they don't see the compromise they are making right now by giving your James Gunn a pass. Because when you give James Gunn a pass after all he has said that is just completely disgusting once you read it, you don't see where you're going, and you don't see what direction you're going in. Because if you can sit there and give your James Gunn a pass for making these kind of jokes, and then sit there on the other side and talk about how you want to do things to Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson, and R. Kelly, that shows, again, how hypocritical people are. And moreover, it shows how sick people are, because they are willing to make that type of spiritual compromise all because they want to see the next Marvel Studios movie. And that, I say, is the sickest thing regarding this whole fanaticism around these Marvel Studios movies, is that people are so obsessed with seeing their favorite heroes that they have made these fictional characters into gods, and they have placed these fictional characters up as gods before the living God, and they have made these characters into such beings that they deify, that they're, again, willing to compromise their moral characteristics and their spiritual values, all because they want to see the next movie. And that's the type of compromise I see people making when they talk about it's okay to rehire James Gunn to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And it's even worse because a lot of people want to go out here and spend money to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because when you go out here and spend money on this, it makes me ask the question, who is far more depraved? James Gunn for making those tweets on Twitter, the executives at Disney, such as your Bob Iger, your Kevin Feige, or your Kathleen Kennedy, people who would go out of their way to support a man like James Gunn, or the American people themselves who would make a compromise because they want to see their favorite movie. And when I look at all three of them and I look at their actions, they paint a troubling picture regarding America, and they paint a very disturbing picture regarding America, because when I look at that picture, it shows me not much has changed about America since the days of Jim Crow, because those racist and white supremacists back in the days of Jim Crow, they made a similar compromise back in those days when they would go out here and terrorize and lynch black people, all while covering up all the crimes they committed, all behind the scenes, such as the many of the things that your James Gunn made light of. And that's something else I want y'all to think about when it comes down to these Marvel Studios movies, because when I look at them from the big picture and the panoramic perspective, I see people who don't see where they're going. They want to go see a movie, but they don't see what that movie and what they're willing to do to go see that movie, how it's affecting them mentally and spiritually, because they don't understand what I wrote about in my novel, The Temptation of John Haynes, back in 2005, because after I saw that compromise being made when I was working at AmeriCorps Vista, it was one of the things that inspired me to write The Temptation of John Haynes. And in that book, I talk about how death may kill the flesh, but compromise kills the soul. And when I look at these people and their fanaticism for Marvel Studios movies, I look at a compromise that is getting ready to kill the souls of America. Because when you go out here and you're willing to advocate for a man like James Gunn to come back to direct a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 at a family company like Disney after making jokes about pedophilia and child rape, that is something that is deeply disturbing, that is something deeply troubling, and it is something we really need to take a critical look at. Now, I'm not fazed about this person taking back their pledge on my Indiegogo. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. But as for me, when I look at what Disney has done, I don't think I want to spend any more money at Disney, because if Disney is going to support a man like James Gunn, then I don't want to spend any more dollars on Disney products. Now, when it comes down to this Indiegogo, it's not a big loss for me, because as I stated, over the years, I have had to stand up for my principles. When I was writing my blog, Shawn James Black Freelance Writer, I've stood up for my principles against black women. I've stood up against my principles with white women. I've stood up for my principles with beta male simps. And I've continued to stand. And that's one of the reasons why I will still continue to stand, because as it relates to me and my core values, I want to stand on the platform with the living God, and I want to stand for the principles that I believe in as related to God. Because at the end of the day, I believe I have to answer to God at the end of this life, and that's why I will go out of my way to call out a guy like James Gunn, and I will call out white America, because they can't sit there and say they want to go out here and talk about how this man is okay, and then look at the mot and then talk about this mot in black people's eyes, like Bill Cosby and R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, while they have a plank in their eyes over in Hollywood with Harvey Weinstein, Woody Allen, Stephen Collins, Les Moonves, and many others who they refuse to hold accountable and refuse to take responsibility for. And then I also look at the American public who sits there and says, oh, it's okay to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because it features somebody we do like, and then we want to mute people we don't like. Both of those principles run counter to our First Amendment here in the United States, and they run counter to our United States Constitution. So when I look at this whole James Gunn situation, it is a complete betrayal of the mission of the Disney Corporation, and it is a complete betrayal of the values of most Americans. And again, it shows how people are willing to make a compromise of their spirit and their heart, all because they want to see their favorite heroes. But in watching their favorite heroes come to the screen, they don't see how they are going out here and making a compromise that betrays the mission of those characters and the mission of what that company originally, what Marvel Comics stood for. Now, I'm still going to run this Indiegogo until the end of May, and if you want to pledge to that Indiegogo to help me get the first SJS Direct comic book published, you may do so by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my other SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, E-Steam: The Sands of Time. It's action and adventure in ancient Egypt in this terrific teen time travel romance. Get your copy of E-Steam: The Sands of Time at your favorite online bookseller today.